Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. For anyone's new here, my name's OwenAlec, and on this channel I do everything drum related. That includes drum covers, tutorials, gear reviews, tips and advice, including vlogs as well, things like this. And today in this video I wanted to do a bit of a studio tour because I've not really done one for quite some time. I'm also going to do a bit of a rig rundown. You can see all of my wonderful gear is all set up there. Now I have mentioned in the past couple of videos that we did some work in this area, so I'm actually going to get to that shortly, but you remember this was the old background. So we've got the blue background here, and then we've got a teal background here. So that's the main difference, I suppose. But this is the kind of angle that you guys know and love. Now I am kind of sad to see the back of it, but we are moving on to bigger and better things. Now, for those of you that have been watching my channel for quite some time, you'll know that I have mentioned on several occasions that I did want a space of my own, somewhere to leave my drum kit set up so that I could do session work and more videos for you guys. And for the longest time, unfortunately, it just wasn't on the cards. We just weren't in a position to be able to do something like that until recently. And we decided that the space that we were using for recordings, as in the control room, so this was the live room anyway, but then we had a control room at the side where everything was fed into. And unfortunately, the recording side of things was kind of slowing down over the years, and it wasn't bringing in quite as much as we wanted for the business. So we decided to repurpose it. Now I'm going to flash up on screen some images now of kind of like the before and afters on the process that we went through. There used to be a wall at the back of the room here with a little window in it, and obviously that's where you could see people that were in the live room recording and things. So first off, we had to tear that down. And that was a whole process in itself, because the way that we built these rooms originally, the control room was kind of an add-on. It was a bit of an afterthought, and the way that we constructed these rooms meant that there were certain areas that we had to cut corners, and unfortunately some of it just wasn't possible to kind of do to the level and standard that I wanted. Certain bits were overlapping, which meant that we couldn't get in at the woodwork to remove certain parts in order to make the whole room look a bit more like it was one room. That being said, I'm still very happy and very proud of the work that we put in and how this actually turned out. So as I said before, the main purpose and function of all this is that everything is supposed to be set up. So it's minimal setup when I come in to do the videos, because before I was spending 2 to 3 hours setting stuff up. I would do an hour of recording and then hours of packing down again. And doing that week in, week out for 6 years approximately was just getting too much for me. I couldn't do that anymore. I was really starting to struggle. And to be perfectly honest, I think when you've done it for that long, it really does start to take its toll on your desire and will and motivation to actually create videos. When there's these constant obstacles in the way, the love of doing these videos can only get you so far. So changing your setup, if you are serious about doing something like this, you've got to invest in your actual ability to do these kind of things. So I think having a permanent space for yourself can really cut down all that extra work, and it makes things a lot easier for yourself. So first off, let me just go over the space. As you can see, we've got all this area here. This main area is for the drum kit. We've got a set of shelving here that's going to have some snares on it. That's mainly for aesthetics, but if I did decide that for whatever reason I didn't want to use this snare, I can just pick one of the ones off the shelf. But as we come around here, you can see I've got a little desk and some shelving as well. That's mainly just going to be a little bit of an office space. So as and when I've done some recordings on the kit here, I can then just move it over to a desk area that's a bit more comfortable, check the footage, check the audio, make sure everything's correct before I then start the mixing process. I have this Rode shotgun mic set up permanently attached to the ceiling up there like that, on this lovely arm that actually is very, very customizable, and I can move it about pretty much wherever I want. So if I'm sat behind the kit doing a talking segment, it is already hooked up to my Behringer XR18 down there, in which case I can just load up Pro Tools and then hit record. Again, this is all about trying to save as much time as possible. So let's move on to the drum kit itself. This is a British Drum Company Legend series in the New Forest finish. So these are birch shells with a black limber veneer, and then just gone over with a dark burst and a clear finish. On this kit I do actually have a third rack tom, but it's not one that I use particularly that much, but it is something that I am going to add back to the kit at some point. It's for a very specific few drum covers. So I actually got this kit in a 10x8, a 12x9, a 16x16, and this is a 22x18, and the other rack tom is a 13x10. This absolutely beautiful snare here is a Mapex Black Panther Predator. It's a copper snare, and I believe it is 14x5.5. The rack system that I'm using here is actually one that I've had for a very, very long time. It's a Pearl Icon rack. It used to be absolutely massive. I had tons of pieces of this, but then it just got a bit too much and I've started downsizing, so I sold a lot of it and then used that money to buy other things. For the cymbals, of course, I am using Amedia. The hats at the moment are 14-inch Visions. I have a 19-inch Aura Razor Crash. We have a 10-inch Tigress Splash. We have a 19-inch Vigor Rock Shiny Crash, a 21-inch Vigor Rock Shiny Ride. Then next we have something that I would consider to be part of my signature sound, really. This is a stack that I've had for absolutely ages. Now, it is an upside down 16-inch Crash. I'm not too sure which one it is. It could be a Thrace or a Classic. I'm not entirely sure. And then underneath that is a 15-inch Euphrates China. I absolutely love this thing. It's really become an integral part of my sound. Then we move on to a 20-inch Vigor Rock Shiny China. This is another one that I love so much because it's got a dark sound to it, but it's also bright at the same time, and it projects really, really well. For the drum heads, of course, I am using Evans EC2s on the toms. And if you saw my last video, I just changed this out. This is Evans HD Dry for the snare. At the moment on this snare, I do have the stock head on the resonant side, but I will be changing this out for a Hazy 300 very, very soon. On the bottoms of the toms, I think they're G1 clears. Now for the kick drum, it's a little bit different because I've been using various different combinations and trying to figure out the best combination in terms of padding and heads. At the moment, I've got this Yamaha one on. I'm not happy with it. It's got loads of tape on it. It's not sounding right at all because I do want to utilize the actual sound of the kick drum as well as the trigger. So I will be swapping this out for an EMAD 2 very soon. For the trigger, I'm using a Roland RT10K, pretty standard, and that is going into a Roland TM2. For the drumsticks, I'm using the Balbex Jazz Nylons. These are absolutely fantastic sticks, ever so slightly longer than kind of like a 5A. They're super durable, very hard wearing. As you can see, I've been using these sticks for quite some time. Like, I'm not kidding you. These have gone through several practices, a couple of different gigs, and they're still coming back for more. They're starting to fray in the center here, mainly because I do rim shots, but honestly, these are lasting so long, far longer than my Pro Max. The only thing of Pro Max that I am using are the stick wraps, just because my hands do tend to get a little bit sweaty and I do like to have extra grip. But these are what the Balbex Jazz Nylons look like without, and also brand new. I've not used these yet, so I will get these wrapped up very, very soon. To be fair, if Balbex came out with something like a stick wrap, I'd definitely be transferring over to that. For the video, I do tend to use a mixture of GoPros and Canons, but for the vast majority of my drum audio, I do use Audics. So we've got the D2s and D4s on the toms. For the snare, I'm using an i5 on the top and an F5 on the bottom. For the overheads, I am using the ADX51s. And then for a couple of the spot mics, I'm using these AKG P17s. There's one that's catching the hats and the splash, and then one over here that's catching the ride. And then as you can see at the back of the room here, for the room mono, I'm using an SE Electronics 2200A, which, as you all know, is going into the Behringer XR18, which then goes into Pro Tools. For my other snares here, I have a 13x7 VK brass snare with custom etching. I have a 13x5.5 British Drum Company Spalted Beech over birch, and then I also have a 14x6 VK oak and birch snare. For my hi-hat and double bass pedal, I'm using the DW9000 XF pedals. These things are absolutely fantastic. I've really loved them ever since I put them on. They are super smooth, really responsive, and they're so robust. They just work. I've used these for so many different gigs and they just keep coming back for more. I'm really, really happy with these. And then for the beaters, I'm using Lowboy custom beaters. Some other bits of hardware that I'm using are these Sweet Spot clutches, which they also have the wing nuts as well that go on the top of here. Now obviously you can tell some of these are a bit more well used, but I've been using them for absolutely ages because they look amazing and they don't really come undone, so I'm actually really happy with those. Now, the eagle eye viewer, you may have noticed that I don't have one on my ride. This is mainly because I just like to have a little bit more access to the bell. A lot of drummers out there will know that when you're trying to hit the bell sometimes and you hit the actual felt and you completely miss the hit, it doesn't sound very good at all. So not having the felts on there does give us a little bit of a helping hand if my accuracy is not so good that day. And that's really about it. That's my entire setup. If you guys have any questions about that, please do let me know in the comment sections below. If I've missed anything, again, let me know below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.